All right. So originally, I was gonna do kind of a backdrop of all the highlights of the different guys that were going in this draft. That was my original plan, and then I was gonna talk over it and kind of go over what happened in the draft. But so many things that I did not expect to happen in the draft happened. So I decided to do this doc. On one side, as you can see here, I have these grades for all the teams, and then on the other side, I did kind of post draft or in draft trades that were significant. First of all, the top three went as we expected it to go. Some sort of variation of Wiseman, Edwards, and LaMelo Ball. When it was interesting because at the time we had heard the unfortunate news about Klay Thompson that he probably has a relatively significant Achilles injury, and you are kind of thinking about that. Well, now do they take LaMelo Ball at 2? You know, if Edwards goes 1, do they go for a wing? Do they go for something like that? But they ended up sticking with Wiseman. I like that Wiseman for them. I like, Edwards. It was a little concerning to me that the guy said he didn't enjoy basketball. That's a little concerning to me. And then LaMelo Ball. I don't know. I don't know why Michael Jordan gave the okay on that guy. But look, those guys have high ceilings, but super low floors. So I'm not going to go too much into the top three because that's what we expected. Okay, that's what we expected. Things started getting a little wild at 4 with Patrick Williams. And if you thought that Patrick Williams and Isaac Okoro were going to go 4-5, you're lying to yourself because this blew my mind. I knew that Chicago really liked Patrick Williams. That was kind of the buzz over the past, couple of weeks that, hey, they like his body. They think he has Al Horford potential, stuff like that. And Okoro, I just thought Cleveland was going to go Denny. They like Denny. They like Obi Toppin. I thought they were going to go one of those two guys. It's not that I don't like Okoro. He's the best defensive player in this draft. It just kind of threw me for a loop. So I am going to go through these draft grades that I have for you here. And I guess I'll start with the ugly. I'm going to go bad, and then I'm going to go really good because I want to end on a high note. There is one F, okay? And it's Sam Presti in the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti is awesome, okay? He has 85 first-round picks from now till 2026. He takes Alexei Pokusevski, 17, 18, wherever he went. I don't know if you guys know anything about this guy. Pokusevski right here. I don't know if you know anything about this guy. He is 7'1", 200 pounds. And for those of you who can't put dimensions together very well, that's thin. That is about as thin as anything you have ever seen in your life. He is super thin. And he plays against high school kids who are super small and they can't play. Everything you saw out of him was just ridiculous. There is no way that you take this guy in the top 20. There's just no way. And he has potential in the future, but there's just no way. They take Maladon, who I like, and then Vit Krejci. I don't even know who that is. So they just get an F-. I just cannot believe they took Alexei Pokusevski when they had so many other guys on the board. It's indefensible. It's an indefensible thing. The guys here at the bottom that I have that kind of took one guy, it's kind of hard to gauge how good those guys are going to be. Brooklyn, I like Reggie Perry here, and I like Cassius Stanley a lot, Kenyon Martin and CJ LB. You don't really know when it's one player. You know what I mean? The Clippers get Oturu and Jay Scrub, which, I like Jay Scrub, but Oturu, I guess they're expecting to lose Harrell. I guess they think he has some upside. That pick was gotten in a trade too. So these teams that don't have a whole lot of the Bucks got Jordan Nora and Sam Merrill. I actually really like Sam Merrill, and Jordan Nora is a kind of a flamethrower shooter. So it's what Milwaukee needs. Portland with CJLB, that's fine. It's just hard to gauge with one player. When you're talking about draft grades, unless the player is standalone super good, that team's not going to get a super good draft grade. So it just depends. So for now, I'm really not going to go over this bottom tier just because it's not really relevant to all the other ones that we see here, the ones who drafted a lot in this draft. So I'm going to move these down here for us out of sight, out of mind. So let's talk about what Memphis did last night. So Memphis goes ahead and gets 30 from the Celts and gets Desmond Bane. Flamethrower shooter at a TCU. Guy's unbelievable moving off the ball. He can relocate on posts exceptionally well on the wing. He could be a really good pro. And if you guys don't know anything about Xavier Tillman at Michigan State, that guy is a workhorse. He puts up in the big situations. He's been there for years. He plays with Cassius Winston and Tom Izzo. That guy's awesome. Like, these two guys, Bain and Tillman, are going to be good pros. And then if we go up here, look what Memphis did in the undrafted contracts. Look what Memphis did. They go out and get Jalil Trapp, who was Defensive Player of the Year in his conference this year. And they go at one of my biggest sleepers in this draft, who A, didn't get drafted. I couldn't believe it. And B, Killian Tilly. Okay, full disclosure, I am a Celtics fan. I'm very upset the Celtics did not go after Killian Tilly. So that's why I'm upset about this. Killian Tilly, injuries aside, this guy right here, he's 6'10", and he shoots threes at a high percentage. It's not like he's Embiid shooting threes, where you're like, oh my God, why is that guy shooting threes? He shoots threes like almost 40%. And he's a good defensive rebounder. So the Grizzlies get proven winners, Desmond Bain, flamethrower, Xavier Tillman, Defensive Player of the Year, Jalil Tripp, and Killian Tilly. Overall, they get an A- for their draft, but even in the undrafted, they get an A+ for the night. So good for Memphis. Memphis wins. Toronto get Malachi Flynn. I like Malachi Flynn. Big win for Utah tonight. Udoka Azubuike and Elijah Hughes. I texted a couple people before the draft, and I said my two sleepers in this draft who I would bet on being good NBA players are Udoka Azubuike and Elijah Hughes. I texted that to like 4 people. And Utah got them both. So Utah gets them both. They also signed Trent Forrest this morning, which is kind of noteworthy, Florida State guy. So I love that for them. Elijah Hughes is much better than his ADP. Udoka Azubuike has Clint Capella potential. So really good for Utah here. And then Denver gets Zeke and RJ Hampton, two guys. RJ Hampton could really grow when he's playing off the ball. If you kind of put the ball in his hands right away, it's kind of something that he might run wild with. But now he kind of is in a system where he can kind of learn to play with those guys. So Denver did a lot of good stuff. I want to talk about Philly and Daryl Morey for a second. Daryl Morey, when I first looked at the Horford thing, a couple guys texted me, what is Philly doing? And that's what I said originally. I was like, what is Philly doing? But I slept on it. And now I really like what Philly did. Philly gets rid of the Al Horford contract. One thing that they needed, that they desperately needed, Ben Simmons can't shoot. Embiid can't shoot. Josh Richardson was hurt. Thibault's more 3-and-D, but he's developing. They had no shooters. And he got rid of Al Horford and added Tyrese Maxey, Isaiah Joe, Danny Green, and Seth Curry overnight. This man might have fixed Philly's problems over the span of 10 hours. Super impressive for Daryl Morey. I like what Philly did. I really like what Philly did. I love Seth Curry. I love, Danny Green can still produce. I love what Philly did last night. Honestly, I think the best pick fit-wise, if you're looking at a team that says, oh, what team took the guy that just fits them the best? And for me, it's Precious Achiuwa with Miami. Precious Achiuwa is a Miami Heat guy. That guy plays 1,000% on every possession. I was thinking for the Celtics that, Danny might go after a guy to combat Bam. And my original thought was at 14, the Celtics might take Achiuwa. So not only did Miami take Achiuwa, they prevented other teams from taking him to possibly combat Bam. He is a Heat guy. He makes the most sense for the Heat. That's an A+ pick for them. Other guys here, look, I'm not going to get too into the Spurs. Vassell and Trey Jones, two excellent defensive players. Pelicans got Kyra Lewis, who I really like. The Celts didn't get a big man, and they got a flamethrower, Peyton Pritchard. Whatever. But for now, the teams who really stood out last night, draft-wise, if we're just talking the draft, a couple A+, and there weren't many. First A+, Detroit, Washington, the Magic, Dallas, and Miami with, Achua, who I just went over. I'll go over the other one too. The Magic with Cole Anthony. Okay, and don't you worry, I'm going to touch on the Knicks. Cole Anthony, I've always thought was extremely underrated in this draft. There are not 15 players in this draft better than Cole Anthony. He had to take bad shots at Carolina because the offense was just standing around and he had to create everything. Cole Anthony had an injury. If you saw his interview after he was drafted, I turned and texted a couple people and I said, there is a reality to this. There is another reality to this where 14 teams regret their decisions tonight and regret taking Cole Anthony. There is that reality. I don't know if Orlando's the best place for him. I don't know if that's where I would have wanted for him to go, for him to thrive. But I will say that it's interesting. It is an interesting thing for Cole Anthony to go there. So I would give the Magic an A+, just because Cole Anthony was one of the best players available, and they got him at 15, and I really like him a lot. All right, let me jump to the Knicks. Okay, let me jump to the Knicks. Now, first of all, let me start by saying I love Immanuel Quickley. Guy's a flamethrower and a good defensive player. Immanuel Quickley's an excellent get for them. Let's talk about Obi Toppin at 8. Okay. I'm not saying I don't like Obi Toppin. That's not what I'm saying at all. But, Knicks fans, you were also happy last night. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm glad you didn't get a guy who you were like, who? Obi Toppin is Showtime, right? He's Showtime. He's a high flyer. He runs the floor very well, especially in transition. But defensively, God, he is bad. There are not too many prospects in this draft worse than him defensively. I don't know. Actually, thinking about it, I really don't think there is one. He is so slow horizontally. It's not just that he's slow horizontally. He's just lazy. He doesn't try on defense. And when, teams were asking Dayton and Anthony Grant, like, what's up with this guy's defense? They're like, he just gets bored sometimes. Excuse me? He gets bored on defense? He gets bored? What is he, Trae Young? So that's very concerning. It's very concerning. And the Knicks, look, I'm just saying I would have taken Tyrese Halliburton, okay? Halliburton was there. They needed a guard who could play off the ball and just do it all. And Halliburton is the most ready NBA player to play in this draft. It doesn't make sense to me that you would take Obi Toppin over Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton fell all the way to 12. 12! I just can't believe this. I cannot believe it. I hope Obi Toppin works out really well. He was so emotional after he got picked. And that's awesome. Hometown kid, that's what you want to see. And after I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm not as angry for this pick for the Knicks. I care about RJ Barrett a lot. That's why I really, want the Knicks to succeed. So, would I have picked Obi Toppin? Absolutely fucking not. But, I get it. High flyer, Showtime, tickets. I get it. And he shot 62% from the floor. So there's only like 5 guys in the history of college basketball who ever did that. So that's very noteworthy. Very noteworthy. And his performances against Kansas and in high-level games are also noteworthy. And Dayton was, arguably going to go to the Final Four. So it's very logical for them to take him. I just would have taken Halliburton. Speaking of Halliburton, the Kings, they get an A-. They took Woodard, who's fine. Ramsey's kind of wild. But Halliburton at 12, I think his contrast with De'Aaron Fox is going to work beautifully. Halliburton, I cannot believe he fell to 12, but that's just something that teams are going to have to live with, because I think like about 7 teams made a mistake. I thought Halliburton might have gone 4 to Chicago, but he didn't. And then not only did Halliburton fall to 12, Denny Advia falls to 9, who I have the Wizards. They get Denny Advia, and they get a backup point guard in Cassius Winston, who is, in my opinion, the best point guard in the history of the Big Ten. So you look at Denny Advia. I thought this guy was the best player in the draft. And that's exactly what they needed, a wing. Oh my God, now they have a plug-and-play guy. You get Beal, Wall, Advia. You get Winston coming off the bench. Thomas Bryant, who I really like. Rui Hachimura. I like this team. I really like this team. So we're going to see what happens with Washington. Phoenix, I do like them taking Jalen Smith. Little high for him, but they do need another big guy who can stretch the floor. So that works really well. And my other A+ that I want to go over is Detroit, who had the 3 best picks in the entire draft. Killian Hayes, they took him at 7. I heard they originally wanted Patrick Williams at 7. They get Saddiq Bey, who is arguably the most creative offensive player in this draft, and Isaiah Stewart out of Washington, who, when he was matched up against a good big this year for Washington, although Washington was reprehensible, he was astounding for them. Defensively, he's a high character guy. Everybody loves being this guy's teammate. He's awesome. Killian Hayes, Saddiq Bey, and Isaiah Stewart might be the best 3 crop of players drafted together in this draft. I love what Detroit did. They have the worst roster in the entire league. It's not even close. And I just really like what they did. So if I had to just give you an overview of the draft here, I would say Detroit, Washington, Dallas. Oh, I didn't even talk about Dallas. Let me talk about Dallas real quick before we go. Tyrell Terry's a steal of the draft. Okay, they get Josh Green, something they arguably need, like very badly. They get Tyler Bey, who just flew to them out of nowhere, and they get Tyrell Terry. Tyrell Terry, these 3 guys are all ready to play right now. They're all going to play this year. Take that to the bank. Okay, they're all 3 of these guys. Maybe not Tyler Bey as much, but Tyrell Terry and Josh Green going to play a ton. Tyrell Terry's going to play a ton. Tyrell Terry was a top 10 player for me in this draft, and they got him at the first pick of the second round. Tyrell Terry fell to the second round. Some of you are like, who? Who is that? What? I don't even know who that is. And that's fine, because you're gonna. This guy playing with Luka? Are you joking? Dallas, not only did that, they signed Freddie Gillespie, who I like. They also got Josh Richardson over there, which, is fine. And Dallas, you automatically get an A+ if you get Tyrell Terry with the first pick in the second round. I'm sorry, but you do. And you guys will see why Tyrell Terry is so good here in the future. So, one more time, if you want to take a quick look, here are my draft grades. Not too many significant signings here. I wrote the Philly trade down. The Grizzlies did something really good there with Tilly and McDermott and Trapp. But the Clippers, nothing here. Charlotte, nothing here. This is really nothing. I like Marcus Howard. He was an excellent player, but he's not going to play. Devon Dotson to the Bulls is nice. Devon Dotson probably should have got drafted, but he didn't for some reason. So he's a little small, but he can really light up the scoreboard. So overall, there's one F here, and it's Oklahoma City. I don't know what happened. They just need to put this in the rearview mirror because I really don't know what happened here. Charlotte, their whole draft overall, I gave them a C. Vernon Carey, I like Vernon Carey, lost a ton of weight. I don't know what the idea here is with Vernon Carey and Nick Richards. I don't really understand. And LaMelo Ball, I'm just not high on. I think Charlotte's going to put the ball in his hands really early, and I just think that's going to be a travesty. I like Pat Williams. I like Okoro. Onyeka Okongwu with Atlanta is like the perfect fit. Onyeka Okongwu is the first prospect and probably the only prospect in a long time that we're going to have that's very similar to Bam Adebayo. And Skylar Mays was awesome at LSU. So overall, there were some teams that had better drafts than the other. Look, Knicks fans, I like what the Knicks did, okay? I like what they did. I like Obi Toppin. I love Emmanuel Quickley. I like what they did. Philly, Daryl Morey is putting you in the position to win. Boston, Danny Ainge, get your fucking shit together, okay? Cole Anthony was a sleeper in this draft. Tyrell Terry was a sleeper in this draft. I cannot believe Tyrell Terry fell to the second round. The last thing I really want to touch on real quick, I want to cap this at 20 minutes. The whole Clipper, the Shamet, Kennard, Saddiq Bey thing. So Shamet goes to the Nets. Saddiq Bey goes to Detroit. And Kennard goes to the Clippers. I don't know who gets better. I guess the Nets do, right? We know what Shamet can do. I think Clippers were completely undervaluing Shamet. I mean, Kennard's a young player, but I guess the Clippers think he can do more than Shamet, which I don't believe that for a second. Saddiq Bey, could be better than both of them. So eventually. So I don't get it. But I think Brooklyn wins that whole deal, and I think Detroit wins that deal. I think the Clippers lose. The Clippers keep losing. Okay. So thanks for listening to this. If you like more content, follow Mouse in the House podcast, subscribe, also to Game Winning Turnover. We're going to keep making content as the sports season goes on, as the NBA picks up. So stay tuned for that.